This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, and today, 8 stories in the queue for you for this Friday, the 9th of August, that you deemed as some of the most conversational news stories from yesterday. Yes, some big stories, some national stories, if you will, but some stories that are so far off the beaten track that you'd be surprised that we got to them. But when we put them out there, you wanted to talk about them. We'll explain how that works, the vetting process a bit, as we have topics covering information, politics, current events, and pop culture news, including the September 10 debate that apparently is going on again, and the Fugees, who are not going on for their concerts. And much love going out to Kurtis Blow and some other great pioneers, at least in my life, going forward in the fun stuff. Now, let's get to the real news today. Today, of course, being August the 9th, Friday, August the 9th. 2024. We want to remind you, you can go to our website, thisistheconversationproject.com, and see about us, who we are, why we are, what we are, where we are. And of course, email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com anytime you're up to it to ask us questions and have conversations offline. More calls to action. That'll be way too many coming towards the end of the show. Now, let's get into the headlines for today. 8 stories that were plucked from obscurity, not so much security, but from the web that we place for you on our feeds that you gave us some ratings on, see which we're talking about. One of the biggest one we're talking about is the biggest thing out there, because the fate of the world, literally the free world, is out there. An existential crisis, the most important election of our lifetimes again. And now we know at least there'll be one more debate between the new presidential candidate from the Democratic Party, the new head of the party, if you will, and the still running Republican guy. We know that Trump and Harris have agreed to an ABC debate on September 10th, and network says it is on. Now, here's the thing. This debate was actually on the books months ago when they decided to drop, being both Trump and Biden decided to drop using the Commission for Debates and just kind of do it on their own. Biden went and worked some deals with ABC and CNN, and Trump went for it. And they did one at CNN, and essentially was enough to kill the Biden campaign. Now the debate was still in the books for the 10th for whoever is running for president. Now it's Kamala Harris. And Donald Trump started to waffle a little bit. Maybe he didn't want to debate her. Maybe he wanted to fluster her. He threw out an alternate date that basically nobody actually agreed to. So that was something that was out there. But now they will both show up. It won't be them standing in the parking lot waiting for someone to show up and kind of go for it. They're going to, duke it out in the ring of sorts with whatever they have planned for the actual, whatever they agreed to in negotiating for the original debate. It's going to happen on September 10th on ABC. Now, the biggest thing about this is November is when we vote. We vote early November. So September, October, November. In most cases, early voting is within that range. Early voting will start essentially, it's not even starting to Labor Day to pay attention. Early voting starts essentially after Labor Day. So at this point in time, many states are already trying to drop ballots into the bins electronically, if you will, so you can get ready for this thing. So will this debate even make a difference? Who knows? We won't really know until we have the debate. We won't really know until it works out, because we're definitely in uncharted territory. Just these waters have not been not been traveled through before. These seas are extremely choppy, and these ocean out front of us, we don't know where we're going. This is new world territory, and we're going to see how this thing works out. September 10th, and of course, in less than 90 days for the actual election, which is where the real test comes. Also along the lines of election, let's talk about our teaser story from yesterday. We talked about possibly doing this one, and you guys engaged this one enough that it is on. It is up, and it's the squad, or losses to the squad, as Cori Bush, one of the members of the squad, loses her primary to Wesley Bell in a race that is impacted by her stance on the Gaza war. Not quite former yet. She still has her job until the end of the session in January. But the member of the squad, a group of progressive Democrats, is gone out from the next contention. St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell has beat Cori Bush in the primary. So someone else on the Democratic side will get a chance to win that actual seat. It's not necessarily a toss-up, but it won't be Cori Bush. The race was significantly impacted by Bush's stance on Gaza, which is a substantial campaign contributions for pro-Israel groups against her. Essentially exactly what happened to Jamal Bowman in New York. A bunch of people who were pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel, put a bunch of money against her because she was, did I say that right? pro Gaza. So people who were pro-Israel, anti-Gaza, I said that backwards, put a bunch of money against her to basically fight the power that be Cori Bush. We're going to see what's going on. Her national profile is high, and she has said just because they shut her down in this case, that means she'll start talking over here. Now some of the chains have been removed, and she can be a bit more vocal about her feelings and things as a private citizen or in some other group. So we don't think we've heard the last of Cori Bush. She has more things coming, maybe not on a pure political standpoint. Maybe she's just going to become an activist. Maybe she'll be the next TV person. You'll be hating to talk on TV in the fall. This is a sad one. This is also something not so much unexpected. Our headline for story number 3 is Lauryn Hill, as she says the Fugees reunion tour was canceled due to low sales and blames sensationalism around her previous canceled shows. Lauryn Hill basically said the cancellation of the Fugees U.S. tour is because of low ticket sales, which happens. Ticket sales for things you think will be awesome that don't turn out mean the tours don't continue. But the blame is on the media and the sensationalism, that's a word from her, media, surrounding her previous tour cancellations. Lauryn Hill has a tendency of going on tour, doing performances, and not showing up. Like literally not showing up. This is history. Since the Fugees broke up and she went solo and started becoming a big name on her own, and then she started doing her own solo tours and tours of other people, she just kind of literally doesn't show up and cancels tours and just is being Lauryn Hill, for lack of better terms. So because of that, people are essentially believing that the media kept saying, well, will they show? Well, they don't show. They've had poor sales for the last couple of gigs, which means their actual reunion to keep on going is not going on. So without Wash Off John or Praz, it's not the Fugees, and they're not doing the tours. Now, this is something that is akin to generational stuff. Back in the 90s, back when I was, I guess, developing, you will, Fugees were prime R&B, hip hop, of course, that blending of that sound of a whole lots of different sounds put together for a new sound for the time, and they were not quite a voice of generation, but they were 3 people, Praz and Wyclef specifically, who went on to produce and create a lot of other sounds, including essentially the brainchild, the madness, the evil geniuses behind Destiny's Child, a little bit of a retool there. And then Lauryn Hill went on to be, the diva of the day, to start being really like a diva of the day. We're sad that the tour is not coming through, but maybe, just maybe, we'll find some new music from them and something else to kind of make it up for us. Maya Rudolph has signed off to play Vice President or possible President Kamala Harris in the future for Saturday Night Live. Punky Johnson may have left the show because that means she can't play him. But we know there will be a spot up for at least another celebrity or someone on the cast to play the possible Vice President Tim Walz, as Steve Martin has turned down the role, saying that he's not an impressionist. He doesn't do impressions. So he will not play Minnesota Governor Tim Walz or possible Vice President Tim Walz on Saturday Night Live in the fall, despite the fact that he looks a whole lot like Tim Walz. Now, people got their hopes up because Larry David, who looked a whole lot like Bernie Sanders, popped up as Bernie Sanders very often. And, of course, that Baldwin guy. But here, Martin chooses to pass an opportunity and explain he doesn't feel good with the role, saying he doesn't really like impressions. Maya Rudolph is on board to play Vice President / maybe Kamala, President Harris. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in the fall once they come back to life on the show. And, of course, what happens when we have, the election. Now, being that charges were dropped against Alec Baldwin, maybe Alec Baldwin and Maya Rudolph will join it themselves both on a show soon before the election or after. We shall see. Headline for story number 5. Very good, happy ending to this one. 5-year-old boy with autism rescued from pond after escaping from home. A 5-year-old boy with autism was rescued from a pond in Florida after wandering away from his home. The boy, who had escaped on Tuesday evening, was found by a sheriff's deputy who ran through the woods and into the pond after hearing the child's cries. The deputy removed the bulletproof vest and waded into the water to reach the boy, ultimately saving him from drowning. The quick action of the deputies ensured the child's safety, highlighting the critical role of first responders in such emergencies. The boy has autism, and he basically climbed out of his bedroom window on Tuesday and went wandering through. And then after talking with the family and finding out that he liked the water, essentially a deputy started canvassing lakes and rivers and found him. The deputy found him literally kind of wandering through this water before he could get so far out. Just listened to his voice and found him. This is a very, 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 very good story. Very happy for this one. Very happy ending. Not such a, well, I guess there's a happy ending for the next one. Also, a bit of a head scratcher how I got here, but when it comes down to tokens and money, I guess you can figure that one out. The headline for this one out of Australia, the Australian broadcasting company, that ABC, not our ABC, is coming out with a story that says Bluey coins worth $400,000 stolen by Australian warehouse worker. You know Bluey, the blue dog, who's a mainstay on kids television. I believe he's a Nickelodeon, no, might be a Paramount character. Not sure who he's owned by, but we watch a lot of Bluey. You know, we have a 2-year-old nephew in the house. We watch a lot of Bluey. There's a lot of Bluey going on in the house. But a promotional work, Bluey coins worth about $400,000 were stolen by a warehouse worker in Australia. 47-year-old man allegedly stole 64,000 unreleased limited edition coins from a warehouse in Sydney. They were meant to celebrate the popular Australian children's show Bluey, and estimated to be worth about $339, about $400,000. The man in charge, in connection with the theft, and authorities are continuing to investigate the incident. Why people got to be bad? Why you got to hate on kids shows? Why you got to hate on Bluey? I mean, it's not like Callie was still around. That's a guy you can really kind of blast. But this guy, why you got to beat on Bluey? Bluey ain't doing nothing to nobody. Next story we have. This is a big one. Mortgage rates plunged to lowest level in over a year. Mortgage rates have recently dropped to their lowest level in over a year, with the average rate of over rates for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Sorry for the bad read, about 6.5%. Freddie Mac reported that the average rate for its is now 4.47%, its lowest since May of 2023. This decline comes amidst ongoing economic concerns, including fears of potential recession, leading to uncertainty about whether this is an ideal time to buy a house. Here's the problem. The houses still cost too much. The interest rates help, but the market is still fairly high for houses. We've had plenty of stories over the past couple of weeks, especially past couple of years as prices gone up, especially last couple of weeks, about the fact that young people don't see the American dream anymore because they don't think they can buy a starter house. Starter houses kind of way too much right now. And, prices go up. They rarely go down. If they do, not very much. We'll see if this interest rate drop will help get the markets moving for people who have the cash, and if there's going to be more of an incentive to get people who don't have the cash, the young people who need to start their families and start earning that equity, start earning that asset to get in the game and go forward. And finally, this is a story that did not get massive engagement, but it's enough engagement to have people see that it's an interesting story, a lot of chatter on it. And this is one that when I saw it, I was like, I hope I get a chance to talk about this one because this is interesting. This is one that's definitely off the beaten path. This is one that definitely didn't handled by Wolf Blitzer in Tel Aviv last night. The headline for story number 8 this morning. More than 1 billion birds die each year after building crashes, study finds. Straight from the robot editor of the story. Every year, more than 1 billion birds die after crashing into glass buildings or windows. This is a significant environmental issue as these collisions contribute to the decline of bird population across North America and globally. The high reflectivity of glass and bright artificial lights during migration season are major factors causing these collisions. Many bird conservation groups are working to raise awareness and implement solutions to mitigate these deaths, such as using bird-safe glass and reducing unnecessary lighting during migration periods. This is something that you probably never thought about, the fact that, birds fly into things. You may have seen a bird or two fly into your glass door or whatnot. There was the Windex commercial years back where they would, clean the glass and have people bump into the window and the birds were laughing at the people trying to walk through the glass. This is essentially the real life version of it. Birds flying into glass and killing themselves, literally crashing into buildings and then not being able to fly or inching themselves going forward. We'll see what we can do to kind of make this better, but you never really thought about the migration of birds and the population being endangered by us putting up really tall buildings. That's a thing, apparently. We talked about our teaser story from yesterday, which was Cori Bush, and Cori Bush being bounced from her primary, losing in her primary to the competitor, so her not being a part of Congress and the squad, at least for the moment. Today's story is a kind of riff off of what we got from the first story on the September 10 debate. Now, Forgive the picture because there's a video running and I had to basically wait till something popped up that was not, a house or Grubhub, and so it's Kamala Harris. But the headline for this story reads, Trump compares his January 6th crowd to the audience for MLK's I Have a Dream speech. So what actually happened yesterday was Donald Trump had a press conference at Mar-a-Lago. He hasn't done very much engagements outside of a rally or two a week, but because that's what Vance is for. That's why he hired Vance to go do all that walking around. But he had a press conference essentially to make sure people knew he existed and to kind of get some attention and to just sort of be the man in front of the mic. And where he rambled about a lot of things, he did confirm that he would be at the debate in September 10th for ABC. That happened there. That's the basically big news part there. He did try to do a couple more Kamala Harris lines that may not have worked for his red meat base. But one thing that he said was crowd size. Kamala Harris is getting a lot of juice from her rallies. So especially in the rally they had in the same exact location. So people are saying Kamala Harris has people showing up. Not only did Trump go on his crowd size rant, he also started talking about the fact that when he did his inauguration, when he was in D.C., his crowd was as big, if not bigger, than MLK's I Have a Dream speech. He compared January 6th and the rally there to the people there and the people just looking for freedom. He said those words out loud to people on cameras that have been recorded. Do you want to talk about it on Monday? Because today is Friday. So this story has to last 3 full days and be one of the top stories throughout the weekend. Basically one of the top 30 stories throughout the stories of the weekend. And we'll pick this one if it's a cool one. It's a good one. There's other stories to pick as one of the 10 stories we'll present for you come Monday. Go to our feeds on Facebook and X. Facebook.com/This Is Conversation Project and X.com/TH_conversation. Repeat it backwards. X.com/TH_conversation and This Is Conversation Project at Facebook or Facebook.com/blah, blah, blah. What we do is every 50 minutes we post news articles like this one and the ones we spoke of today and many from many various sources. You get a chance to choose which ones sound, let's just say, more legit, more interesting, or which ones really piss you off sometimes. Sometimes it's things that make you mad. We're glad people responded to the story about the 5-year-old who was found in the lake because that was a great one. We're glad you responded to, which although it was pretty obvious, responded to the story about the debates for September 10 because those are important. Everything else, you kind of give us a beat on what to go to, and we do our best to get it out there. That's why we are your supplemental source for conversational stories. We aren't sitting out there like Rachel and Matt are doing the full details of the monologue. We're just dropping in stories that might get missed that still should get some love here or there. Help us out by going to our feeds on Facebook and X and let us know what stories we're talking about tomorrow, or in this case, come Monday. Let's talk about keeping us on the air tomorrow, come Monday, and our sponsor that we're spotlighting today, which is Robinhood. Robinhood is a pretty big deal, and it got a lot of love this week because we had the week opening with a week opening in the stock market, and then it rebounded, so people had a chance to get in there. But for people who were into the market, people who were into money, they had a couple days to move some things around and play with some stuff, either get out of some things that didn't seem to be great or buy some things on the cheap and move forward. And they did it on their own, instantly, doing their own research and deciding what stocks, what bonds, what securities, what crypto they wanted to buy. You can do that with Robinhood. It's the app. It's the OG of apps, and they're moving away from just being just a stale, just, hey, buy some stocks. They're doing things with investments, doing things for your future to grow as a company and to help you grow as a person. So check them out. If you've not checked them out before, now's the time to do it. And you want to check them out, please use our affiliate link. This link allows us to get a small commission for you starting your account, and you'll still get a free stock. How about that? This is a conversationproject.com/Robinhood. This is a conversationproject.com/Robinhood is where you can find our affiliate link to Robinhood, the app. Hydration break and quick pause for effect because I need to remind you, investments can lose money. Stocks have a chance of being volatile, and then they can not be as well as people say they are. I am not a financial expert. I am not your guru. I'm just your friendly news guy giving you news stuff. But I do some, I'll go on predictions. We do some research and produce some commentary and some literature on research. Something that I've been kind of interested in a while. Business news and stuff like that, something that's interested me. So I do some of that. We're going to start releasing some of that for an audience as well. But this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. So you're on your own. What you do is what you do. Quick stop at The Conversation Project and our website. This is theconversationproject.com. This is our home online where you, yes, you can find all the things about us, find out all the things where we are, like the various different locations you can find our videos, our audios, and our newsletter, and just postings here or there, who we are, the background of what the Conversation Project has grown into after essentially 3 different lives, if you will, maybe 4. It was a project that started off as a quiz information, but getting people's information on quizzes, asking them straight questions. And now we'll give you some of the most conversational news stories of the day, where we are, who we are, how we are, and how you can help us be more of how we are. Go to our website and click on links for sponsorships. We talked about that, and see if there's a sponsor that can help you out. All our sponsors are affiliate links, so you have to buy from them to get something, and we get something as a commission from those buys. We also are looking for you to consider being a partner. We'll talk about our partners in a moment. We'll get some spotlight at the end of the show, but partners help things go around here. They, 1, directly fund what's going on here, and 2, act as a sounding board of directors, someone who basically walk me off ledges very often with ideas and things going forward. If something doesn't work, they try to stop it because they hear about it coming first. They may give you a chance to intervene before it happens. If it doesn't work afterwards, they console me and tell me, well, maybe you shouldn't have did it like I told you. They get a lot of those. If you want to console me or chat at me or call me an idiot on your own without having to pay anything, you can do that. The biggest thing you can do is follow us on the feeds, because that's how we get the news stories anyway. The feeds on Facebook and X let us know what stories to talk about. That's the best way to deal with it. Just deal with that. But follow the feeds. Make sure you're giving us news stories. The next thing you can do is just email us. It costs you nothing but whatever you use to use your email account. The conversation inbox at gmail.com is how you can contact me directly, or at least the show directly. Those are show direct things. I'm also online at the most boringest email address, jclevelandpayne@gmail.com. That one's a bit busy because basically it's my default box for stuff. So send something to me directly there if you want to. If you want to chit chat, there's there. But the conversation inbox at gmail.com is also where you can chat with us as needed. Now, let's do this. We've done the news. We got the business part out. Let's have some fun for 5 or some things, more than 5 things you might ought to know for this Friday, August 9th, 2024. That picture right there, one of my heroes in hip hop, that is Kurtis Blow. He is celebrating a birthday. A few years back, he had a heart transplant, and so he's around to still give knowledge, still give some guidance to some of the younger guys in hip hop, although it don't sound like it sounded back in my day. Back in my day, it don't sound like it. But Kurtis Blow, who gave us, basketball and the breaks, is 65 years old on today. Deion Sanders, still neon, still prime, no longer playing and now coaching on the prime level. Colorado Buffalo's head coach, making things happen out west. He's 57 years old on the day. And this is a guy that I really look up to, Chris Cuomo. I am nowhere near in his league, but someday if the internet can waft this audio and the video to him to hear this, I'd like a chance to meet, talk, literally a chance to work with the guy. Chris Cuomo, he's had some ups, he had some downs, but he's right now, making things happen on the News Nation, albeit sometimes in some more crazy ways, but hey, he's got the viewers. He's on News Nation. He's there with a bunch of other misfits toys of news, but they're making it work. I watch a whole lot of News Nation at night as opposed to the CNN I was stuck to before. Chris Cuomo, that Cuomo, is 54 years old on the day. Let's go to some history things for today. On this 9th of August, going back to 1936, as Olympics are still in vogue, 2 Olympic evolved history lessons. Number 1, the Summer Olympics in Berlin back in 36. Jesse Owens won his fourth gold medal, becoming the first American to win 4 medals in one Olympic Games, and pissing off Hitler, which is, icing on the cake. In 1995, while undergoing drug rehab, Grateful Dead leader Jerry Garcia died of a heart attack on this day at the age of 53. And in 2012, not that long ago, and he's not too far out of our hearts, we still bring him up today in this year's Olympics, 12 years later. 10 years later. Sorry about that. 12 years later. Math in the head doesn't work out so well. Usain Bolt became the first person to win the 100 meters and 200 meters sprint in back-to-back Olympics. He's really fast, really fast. So fast, he can turn his head and look behind folks and say, hey, I'm pretty far ahead. Then turn his head back and then just hit the juice and do whatever. Usain Bolt making it happen on this day in 2012. A word for the day. Learning something big is a big word called mellifluous. And it means sweetly or smoothly flowing, sweet sounding, mellifluous. Her mellifluous voice captivated everyone on the audience, holding them to a spellbound silence. That was terrible. Let's do it again. Her mellifluous voice captivated everyone in the audience, holding them in a spellbound silence. How's that for a nice, beautiful word today? Do your best to use mellifluous in a sentence today. More about big words and sometimes small words that you should probably get to know by going to our website, The Big Words Project, a new word every single day. Just this is the day for today. And information on our book project, which is Big Words You Ought to Know. The second volume is out right now, so get volume 1 and 2. And the collector's edition, where am I? There we go. Collector's edition, the original cover for the edition for volume 1, if you choose to, by going to the website or searching Big Words Pain on Amazon, because that's where it is. Other stores as well, but Amazon is my ticket. It's where I do my stuff. A affirmation for today. This is a good one. Challenges help me grow and become better. This affirmation reduces negative thoughts. Recognizing challenges as growth opportunities, they can significantly reduce negative thoughts, allowing you to view difficulties with a more positive outlook and become more aware of your patterns and feelings. This is a pretty good affirmation for the day. If you're having challenges, remember they can help you grow and become a better person. More words and more thoughts on affirmations by going to the link inside of this presentation and looking for my book, 100 Daily Affirmations for Positivity and Confidence. Yes, I have a book on that as well. I've got a book on everything. More Better Media does books on and info on everything. It's More Better Media. Or search 100 Affirmations Pain on your Google device and find it as well. Celebration, good times. We got to go with something. And so we're going with the tastiest thing today, Rice Pudding Day. Rice pudding was sort of a controversial pick around here. I mean, we took it to the advisors, we took it to our folks who were partners, and they were kind of like, rice pudding. But it is to today. The variety of recipes exist for rice pudding. All of them include cooked rice as the base ingredient and combine milk, either cow's, coconut, evaporated, or cream, with bread. So it's a offshoot of bread pudding with rice mix in there. Adding sugar, molasses, and honey gives it a little sweet taste to it, and flavors like vanilla and nutmeg and cinnamon also add to it. Many people throw things like raisins into it. Not a big fan of raisins, but the eggs and other things holds the whole thing together because you got to have a binder for a rich, creamy consistency. I'm not the greatest fan of rice pudding, so like I said, this was one that we kind of went with and was like, we're going with it. And the advisor was like, are you sure about that? So today we definitely had two very, very nice alternate holidays for the day. You can celebrate Book Lovers Day, which you should do every single day, and Polka Day. I don't polka either. I used to square dance, oddly enough. I was a square dance champion back in elementary school, for whatever that's worth. But the polka is a good thing for the day. Book lovers, great for the day. And rice pudding. Give it a shot. Just buy a small container and give it a shot. Do something new for yourself. Today is Friday, August the 9th, 2024. This has been Things You Might Not Have Heard and Things You Might Ought to Know for this day. A quick shout out to our sponsors, people who go to our Buy Me a Coffee and have subscriptions. These are people with full subscriptions for monthly subscriptions. Now, the cup of coffee version is $5 a month for Harold Braxton, Colby Green, and Eldon Kidd, who's been with me for a while. I explained this I guess it was in this thing a few days ago. Eldon Kidd is a pseudonym of a guy that I know, and he used that pseudonym because, we know each other from a long time. Eldon Kidd is the dirtiest player in the history of American Gladiators, and you would know that if you ever watched it way back in the early days or watched the Gladiators documentary came out a couple months ago, maybe about a year or so ago. Eldon Kidd is a guy that literally, came on the show, went to hurt folks, and essentially is on the run because he spent a lot of time selling drugs and guns because he's that bad. But Eldon Kidd is my boy, and he always comes. He always brings the hurt, brings the pain. But he's been with me behind me for a lot of these projects, and he's a part of the $5 a month tier for this one. Now, Joy Winters in the Spare Change tier, that's $1 a month via Buy Me a Coffee. It doesn't seem like much, but anybody willing to give anything to you on a consistent basis, including more than a few words, all it takes is $1 to get a few words into me. So you want to make sure you get heard. It costs $1. You want to pay $5, get more. There are other tiers as well to help get more things going on and help us do things like we need to buy more equipment. We need to hire more people consistently so we get this thing done a lot faster. A lot of things we want to do for the Conversation Project. You can help us by becoming a partner. And so that's one thing I ask you to do. Check out the partnerships page at the website. You can also go to sponsorships pages and just buy things consistently on the 1, 2, 3 scale. We get commissions for those every single time. The most important things you can do are follow us on the feed so we know what stories to talk about, and to email us, whether you're paying or not, to let us know what we need to do to fix things. Remember that life is great, even when your life doesn't feel so great in the moment. I love you guys with all my heart. We're preparing for our weekend shows, the weekly wrap up, which has gotten all discombobulated because we don't do straight stats anymore. So we're going to give you basically, I think last week we gave you 12 stories. Probably turn into 12 stories, basically 3-ish a day. That's 15. That's way too much. We'll figure it out. We're going to give you a bunch of stories, probably 12, hopefully not 15 stories from the past week that were big stories that you can go back to and relive and talk about in, on your Saturday morning breakfast chats or Sunday morning brunch chats or whenever you want to chat. We're preparing for Monday's show, which of course is another edition of things you might not have heard. 10 stories from the weekend, so a whole lot of weekend to cover. So a lot of stories for you to engage in. If you want to make sure that story sticks around, if you want to talk about crowd size and MLK, I'm not sure why we want to, but it's there. It's for the pickings. You let us know what stories you're talking about by going to the feeds and letting us know. In the meantime, have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Be safe because we need you here. We need you here, and those folks around you need you here as well. Love you. Mean it. Let's do this again like this.